I'm Grace Cavalieri and Dorianne Laux. And I just want to have you all to myself for a minute, Dorianne, to talk about your own poetry. And so to begin with that, let's just hear a poem.
This is my newest book, Life on Earth. And one of the poems in it is called Ode to the Territory. I've taken my country for granted, its morning songs breaking over the craggy backs of mountains, its violet gloves of rain, its frayed fields of corn. I saw it as nothing more than a long road drawn through scrub and sand, carved into hillsides, silver bridge over a river, licking its own mossed banks, its silos and windows, its silage and slag. I took it for granted, the way a man takes a plate of buttered potatoes from a woman's troubled hands, clean socks from a drawer, sheets smelling of wind, the way a man curls his fingers around a woman's thin wrist and follows her, unafraid, into the woods, the way a child opens her arms, her wings, his eyes, his mouth, like a bird, expecting to be fed. Oh, wheelbarrows filled with red earth. Oh, horses threshing the meadow's yellow weeds. Oh, ponds and geese and cracked dinner bells. Oh, sparks like stars flung from the train's metal wheels, winding unbroken past backyards and junkyards. Oh, expanse. Oh, oceans lapping. Oh, coastlines, jagged boulders holding in the sea. Gulls turning above you, the tin ceiling of night falling to its knees.
Dorianne Lux, I'm so glad you started with that one because it has so much of your amazement in it and your sense of wonder, which is all throughout your poems. Now, this is your seventh book. And if someone says, what's in this book? What's it about? How would you describe this book of poems?
Well, it's interesting because it's difficult to put a book of poems together. And often I will, depending on the title of the book, add poems or take poems out because they don't seem to fit. This one, I just wrote a bunch of poems before, during, and after the pandemic, right? And they were about everything. Many of them about my mother, which was the end of Only as the Day is Long, my new and selected 20 new poems about my mother. I was so happy I was done writing poems about her. And then, of course, the first poem in this book is about my mother, and
Right.
a number of poems follow. But it's really just days of a life, very ordinary moments, circumstances, many that you pay more attention to when you're locked down, and so your senses, mine, were heightened during that time.
Well, you have a whole world of followers. You are a beloved American poet and you are a Pulitzer Prize finalist. So here you have this cachet of success. What do you have to overcome to start a new book of poems? Do you just check that box and go on? Maya Angelou says every time she sees a blank piece of paper, she doesn't know how to write a poem. So you have behind you the Pulitzer Prize finalist. Do you have to overcome any feelings of worry or anticipation to keep going?
Not really. I mean, that announcement came during the pandemic. And so there was no one to celebrate with. We couldn't go out. We couldn't do anything to kind of mark its, passage. And so it just sort of came and went anonymously. And thank God I hadn't been a finalist because, I mean, a winner, because then it gets a lot more attention. Although there are only two finalists, which is,
Oh, it's big time. It's big time. Let's hear
sure.
another poem from this book, Life on Earth,
Yeah.
Dorianne Lux. Let's go on.
Um, you said you wanted to hear I Dare You.
I do.
Okay, now that's definitely a pandemic poem. I dare you. It's autumn, and we're getting rid of books. getting ready to retire, to move someplace smaller, more manageable. We're living in reverse, age proving the new house. Nothing on the floors to trip over, no hindrances to the slowed mechanisms of our body. A small table for two. Our world is shrinking, our closets mostly empty. Gone the tight skirts and dancing shoes, the bells and whistles. Now, when someone comes to visit and admires our complete works of Shakespeare, the hawk feather in the open dictionary, the iron angel on a shelf, we say, take them. This is the most important time of all, the age of a divestment. Knowing what we leave behind is like the fragrance of blossoming trees that grow stronger after you've passed them, breathing them in for a moment before breathing them out. An ordinary Tuesday when one of you says, I dare you, and the other one just laughs.
The reason I love that is because we know your life through your poetry. We know you as a young girl, we know you as a young woman, and your poetry, if you look at the whole canon of works, is really sequential. You're right about each time of your life. And this is a time of your life presently, which I can relate to so well. Also, it's a perfect relationship poem. This poem could not describe a relationship anymore if it were graphically and visually drawn. It shows people that know each other so well that they don't have to say much more than I dare you. And so please go on. Let's hear another poem from Life on Earth.
Life on Earth. This one is called Biscuit, which was for us a constant in the house. We were never without a box of Biscuit. My mother could whip anything up from a box of the stuff, a casserole, a cobbler, Mississippi pot roast with cheese biscuits, chicken and dumplings or fried chicken, the skin crispy as her cookies and pie crust. It seemed the oven was always on, the dial pointing to home, where we'd run back to from wherever we had gotten to, leaving footprints on her clean floor, mud or sand, or the water that thundered from the hose in summer. She served the silky gravy in a scratched glass boat, poured like good fortune over our mashed potatoes, all of us having dug out our wonder craters to receive it. And sometimes I came home early just to smell the air, scented with mingled spices, see the banners of flour the pan left on the counter when she lifted it, the bottom blackened by years of burned butter. We'd wake to pancakes in the cast iron skillet, and it seemed she'd never slept, never stopped, eggs cracking open, spilling each whole yellow globe into a blue bowl. What were we waiting for but to see her at the sink, her long bare feet on the cool tiles? Just an ordinary woman made of flint and roses, her black hair tied back with a drugstore scarf.
A drugstore scarf. You know, you've made your mother permanent. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Your mother will last forever. That's kind of a miracle, isn't it? We know her so well.
I hope so.
We do know her so well. We love her so much. Well, they call you the witness of the everyday. What does that mean to you?
I don't know. I've always, I mean, for instance, that poem about my mother, to me, she was a magician. She was a heroine, you know. I mean, she's raising all these kids and studying to be a nurse and cooking all these meals. I mean, it was like, how does she do this?
And playing the piano
and playing a piano. And, you know, she was just a miracle and a mystery to me. And it was what she did every day that made that day special, that made everything sparkle.
But what makes the poem special? And that is the imagery, that is the specificity, that is the detail. If we can teach people the burned bottom of the pot, if we can teach people that it's not any scarf, it's the drugstore scarf, that is why you are the witness of the little objects in life, the tiny things that people think are not poetic material. But
Mm.
we want to hear more. More, please.
Really?
Dorianne Laux? Yes.
We only picked out 3.
No, I said if we have time, we would do in any event, page 3.
Oh, page 3. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. Okay, in any event, and this is the opening poem of the book.
Mhm.
It's sort of for all of us. In any event, if we are fractured like stars, bred to shine in every direction, through any dimension, billions of years since and hence. I shall not lament the human, not yet. There is something more to come. Our hearts a gold mine, not yet plumbed, an uncharted sea. Nothing is gone forever. If we came from dust and will return to dust, then we can find our way into anything. What we are capable of is not yet known, and I praise us now in advance.
The unforgettable poetry of Dorianne Laux.